Ed, appreciate you joining us today with Trucker Tools. And just to start things off, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what it is you do?
My name's Ed, and I'm with Redneckanize. It's a little organization that a bunch of us truckers founded. I got into trucking, man. I was telling a friend of mine the other day, at 5 years old, I was telling everybody I wanted to be a truck driver. So when I got into the military, they said, hey, you could be a vehicle operator, which means you learn how to drive heavy equipment and big trucks. And I'm like, that's what I want right there. I'll take it. So I got into that, and I learned how to drive in the military. And when I finally was able to transition out into it, I was able to get my CDL and go to work and went over the road, eventually owning my own truck. And then getting on down the line, 20 years later, we met up with some truckers, made some friends at a truck show, and we decided, what we need to do is we need to create a little get together thing so everybody can have fun and just not have to worry about all the things that we were worried about when we first got to the truck show. So we founded Redneckanize, which is we created kind of just a little atmosphere on the parking lot to where drivers can just come and hang out. And we had food and we had entertainment, and we went and got the generators for the electricity so we can have heat and cooking and music and everything. So it just grew and grew and grew. Every year it kept getting bigger and bigger, and that was one of the coolest things that we had ever done. And we came up with Redneckanize, which it was one of those things we were just around working on one of the guys' trucks. We were working on it, and the guy says, just turn it like this, and that'll fix it right there. And he was, well, that's Redneckanize if I've ever. So that's kind of how we came up with the name. It's when everything goes wrong, well, you got to Redneckanize because you still got to get things done. So we came up with that, and that was awesome. So yeah, we go to the truck shows. We've been going to the Mid-America Trucking Show for since 2012 when we first got there, and so it's been amazing. We made so many new friends and just lifelong relationships that probably never forget. So it's pretty awesome.
That's a great story. And I actually, early in my career when I was brokering flatbed freight, I actually would have drivers here and there because, we'd have to give them bad news about, hey, I'm going to need you to, screw into your deck boards and brace this thing with some 2x4s or 4x4s or whatever. And everybody I worked with was like, hey, man, it's not a problem. We'll just get it done. And so they started telling me about your company. So I've actually heard about it for quite some time. So I appreciate you sharing the story. What we want to focus on today is the truck parking side of the industry. And to kind of start things off, what makes parking such a challenge for over-the-road drivers, especially the overnight parking aspect of it?
Well, I think of course, it's vehicle size. Of course, you got to get somewhere where a lot of the truck stops are few and far between. So you get somewhere where you're going to be delivering, or you might run out of time on your log. So you have to know that you can get into an area that's got a big enough lot where you can get in and out. And of course, mostly it's about being secure or being legal. There's a lot of places out there where you'll get knocked on the door, in the middle of the night because, hey, you're not supposed to be parked here and all that, because usually you can go to Walmart's and you can park in the Walmart parking lots, and those are getting more and more restricted to where they won't let you in the parking lot, or they get too compact where there's they allow truck parking, but then next thing you know, there's so many trucks, there's no room. So yeah, it's about being legal, and it's about being safe. We talk about it all the time about making sure a driver gets safe, and I mean, it got to the point to where they got the Congress involved in trying to create parking because there was not enough secure parking where drivers could feel safe. So yeah, it's tough out there, especially if you're in an area with truck stops. There's not a lot, like the town I live in down here in South Texas. They don't want truck stops in the town. The next closest truck stop to where you can actually get a shower and a meal, it's 25 miles away, because they don't. On the city limits, they don't want trucks. They don't want the truck stops. They think that it's too cluttered. And that, of course, it doesn't generate any revenue and things like that. So there's a big market, I think. But again, it all depends on where you're at and how you got to get there and all that. So yeah.
Certainly. And that kind of brings us to one of the newest features in the Trucker Tools app is parking features, not only the state and federal free locations, but we've started to integrate with some of the larger aggregators. One of the first one that came out in the app in just the last couple months is Truck Park. They're one of the largest truck parking platforms in the market today, specifically geared towards semi trucks. So the integration with them, we can geolocate the user, the driver on it, help them find, reserve, pay for the parking right in the app. We're also pulling in all of the amenities that are available at each parking location for the driver to see before booking the space. So they'll know what type of security is offered, if it's, roaming security guards, if there's a fence line, if it's gate controlled access. Also with the facility amenities, are there showers on site? Do they have food available? Is there a repair facility? Really diving into the safety aspect of the driver there. All of that's going to be brought out in the app. They're adding new locations and additional stalls even within the existing locations almost every week. And even beyond that, we've also got Secure Space, who is the other big truck parking aggregator in the semi truck market, coming into the app in the next couple weeks. We're just finishing up some of the back end work there. So we're hyper focused on making sure that not only can we find a driver a safe place to park, we can bring it to them at the most cost competitive price possible. We're even asking, all the brokers that are on our application to start engaging in some gamification with the driver to offset that cost. So we've been working with a lot of the brokers on the back end where if a driver performs certain metrics, on time pickup and delivery, or if there's a failure that, might have been through cause of the broker or the broker's client, that driver can be routed to a safe facility to wait, rather than just, hey man, you're on your own for the next 8 hours, or the facility is closed for the rest of the day, you can come back tomorrow. We want to be respectful of the hours of service and help the driver find, that safe place to park as fast as possible. I know you kind of ran through some of the troubles that exist there, but can you tell me what your strategy is around parking for you and your crew?
Well, I mean, on a daily basis, the first thing you do is you think about like where you go first. You got to go, like you got to be at a certain spot at a certain time, and you might have to take a couple of days to get there. So a lot of times it's like, that's the first thing I do when I plan my route is like, am I going to be able to park there when I get there? And then at what time do I need to get there to make sure I can park? And so a lot of times you think about, am I going to be able to get a spot? And sometimes there's free spots. Sometimes you might have to pay for spots, and you just got to plan ahead on that. So a lot of times I think about that. And I always think about, like, when I get there, what can I do when I get there? Am I able to get a shower? Am I able to get, something to eat, groceries or whatever? I mean, and I always think about planning my meals around that, because you may not be able to stop and get groceries until you get to a certain day of the week, because that's where you're going to be parked in the course of doing your job, where you're going to be next to a facility like a Walmart or a grocery store or something. And I always try to figure out that, stop here, you better get groceries here, because for the next 3 or 4 days, you're not going to be able to park anywhere that you know of that you're going to be able to get groceries. So you always would like to be able to plan ahead on that. And I like doing that kind of stuff where I can get to a facility like I know that I've been there before. It's always great because I like knowing what's around me. Sometimes, I'll walk maybe 1.5 miles, 2 miles, just because I know I parked the truck here, and if I walk down the street a little ways, I know there's this really awesome restaurant that I used to go to back in the day, or I know this place and all that. So, every time you ask drivers about where we like to park and everything, we always talk about, well, I park here because I go down there and there's a steak place right over there. That's the best steak you ever had right there. And that's always awesome, because we talk about that all the time. It's like, I always stop here because I can get the shower. Well, no, that's not really a big deal for me. I'll stop here because I can get a steak, and all that. So different drivers have different priorities, and the more things that we've been to or know about, then, that's what we try to do. Just like you were talking about before, a lot of these areas that have parking that, maybe it's not a truck stop, maybe it's just a parking lot that provides parking. A lot of drivers don't know they exist. And, having something in the app like that, they're like, well, I didn't know there was a parking lot down the street from where I'm delivering. I'm parked 5 miles away or 20 miles away because I didn't know that I could park down the street from where I'm delivering at. And that's the cool thing I think about the app is that you find spots or you find facilities that you didn't know existed. And there's not like a database. That's the one thing that there never was before. There never was a database of parking spots or facilities that provide truck parking. And that's the awesome thing about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, I kind of got my start in this industry always picking the brains of people that have been around in it longer than myself, because that's the best way to learn is all that tribal knowledge. And we see it day in and day out working on the technology side of the industry of the ask from the drivers of how do we make those things known. Certainly when drivers are together, they can kind of congregate and discuss, their favorite parking locations, their best place to have a meal. Obviously there's a lot of shared information about good shippers, bad shippers, what are the pain points of certain facilities or certain brands. That's actually just stepping outside of the parking segment of the app. We're also integrating with a company called Doc 411, where it is driver submitted reviews of facilities to indicate all the amenities that are available. And all of that is available in the app before the end of this year. Our tech team's actually working on it right now, connecting their database with ours. And it's going to allow you, when you're looking at an available load in the Trucker Tools app, not only are you going to see where is it picking up and where is it going, and then all of the information we already flood in between of the fuel stops and any maintenance facilities that you might need in the routing, along with all the parking locations. We're also going to tell you what we know about each of the shipping locations involved in that transaction. That's going to help, obviously, the drivers make a little more educated decision on, is this the right load for me? Obviously, on our platform, once you see the destination, you can also click on that and see what reloads are available before you even take that first load. The idea is just keep the wheels spinning and keep things as efficient as possible. And with that, efficiency, we've also applied that to the parking. Most of the drivers that are using the parking on our platform, because as soon as you open the app, we're identifying where you're located and what we already know about you as a user in terms of equipment. So we're going to geolocate what are the facilities around you. So less manual searching. Again, all the tools are right in there. Average cost for an overnight parking spot in a secured facility is only $20 on the app. And again, we're pushing to bring that cost down as low as possible and add more facilities to that mix. Right now, the app allows booking up to 90 days in advance. So if you have recurring runs where hey, this facility won't allow me to park overnight, but I know I'm going to land there at 1 a.m., you're able to secure that stall ahead of time. You're also able to work with the brokers that you're getting those loads from and negotiate that into the rate. Make sure that you're being reimbursed for the expenses you're incurring along the route. It's no different than fuel or a truck washout. And that's one of the things that when I was a broker, we were always talking about is, if I can help get you to a safe and secure parking location, let me put it in the rate for you. Obviously, the benefits of getting a lot of those accessorials paid directly to the driver are very beneficial. And also things happen, right? It's freight, it's trucking. It's not a matter of if something is going to go wrong. It's more a matter of when it goes wrong, what do we do next? We made sure with all of the partners on the parking side that we work with, you can cancel any reservation up to an hour before it starts. So that gives you a huge gap. You may not know of all the, the border delays or maybe you get stopped, things like that are going to put you behind schedule. We wanted to make sure that we take into as many of those considerations as possible for the driver. We also are right now integrated with credit cards that you can save on your phone, as well as Apple Pay if you're an iOS user. I'm sure Android Pay is coming right behind it with our development team. They're working feverishly to get as many of these features as possible en route. And the reason I mentioned Doc 411 earlier is because those location amenities we were talking about, one of the kind of most used numbers in there, or requested amenities, is does the facility you're going to allow overnight parking on site, or do they have a gate that's going to block you? And if there is a gate, what are the hours of that gate? So you'll know, hey, I might be able to get there at 3 a.m., but they don't open that front gate until 4 or 5 a.m. So you just have a little bit of a window there. But again, it's pushing as many things right into the driver's hands as possible to keep them as efficient as possible, keep the wheels turning, make the daily life during the hours of service as efficient as possible and productive as possible.
Yeah, I would say the way talking about that 401, that 411 is awesome, because what it's going to allow to do is you're going to get to a facility. You've never been to a facility. You don't know, like you're saying, parking. Grocery warehouses are probably the worst. They're all different. And sometimes they're really awesome, to where there's plenty of parking. They tell you exactly what to do, where to go, and who to see, and all that. And then some places you go, and it's like you don't even know where the front door is.
Exactly.
The actual guard shack to get into the facility is 2 blocks around the corner on the other side. And a lot of times they'll put the wrong address on the paperwork because their warehouse entrance is on a different street and all that. And to me, it's like, if you've never been there, you'll drive around the block for a couple of hours before you'll figure out that it's this gate over here that's just like you have to do, like we always talk about with trying to find out information about trying to get to a customer. You just got to get on the CB and say, break for that local information. Anybody got any local?
Absolutely. Yeah, that tribal knowledge is super important. And, that really plays into some of the differentiators with routing, where an app like ours that is specific to the CDL lifestyle, we are watching the habits of loads come in and out of facilities, rather than relying on the address details that are on a rate confirmation. Like you talked about, that rate con might have the business address, it might have the billing address, it might have just the general address if you're a consumer looking for a business, rather than what is the actual dock entrance. And that's where true truck routing is very different. So every time I hear a driver say like, oh, I don't need it, I use Google Maps, it's like, I don't know how you survive on that. Good luck. Keep your eyes peeled when you get within a half mile of your address, because you're going to need it.
Sometimes you go to a big truck and you'll see the big truck, he'll have 4 or 5 GPSs mounted on the windshield, because he's got different softwares for all different stuff. And I've only got the one little one, and it's not even a truck GPS. It's just a little bitty one that just helps me calculate how far I am from where I am to where I got to go. And all that. And they say, what about truck routing and all that and everything? And I said, the best GPS that I've ever owned, that I will always feel the best reliable information, is right here in my gut. I'll get someone, what, that don't look right, I ain't doing that. That road right there, ain't no way I'm taking that big truck down that road. And it's just, instinct just tells you that, no, that's not the right way, I'm not going that way.
That's understandable. Ed, I appreciate you taking the time today and sharing with us. Before we get off this, just tell everybody where they can get the swag that you've got all over your office there. It's awesome.
So yeah, we're at redneckanize.com, and that's redneck, REDNECKANIZE. We are on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and we even got a YouTube channel where we've got a lot of videos, and most of the videos are directed at the four-wheelers, telling the four-wheelers how to drive around big trucks. And we think that that's probably the coolest thing that was ever invented, is something that we could direct. Truck drivers can say, hey, four-wheelers, this is the way you're supposed to do it. So that's at redneckanize.com. We've got those videos there. We got a store, and we're having a great time, and we're hoping to see everybody at the truck show coming around.
Awesome. Great. Appreciate it again, Ed. Have a great rest of your week.
You too now. Appreciate you.
Take care.